Hello, everyone. Uncle Marv here with another episode of the Unhealthy Podcast, the show where we dig into life's unhealthy side and we figure out a way how to make it healthy one day and one habit at a time. When we visited last, we were talking to my friend Nancy Enriquez, and we were chatting about her tattoo removal, her imposter syndrome, and we had just gotten into talking about loss and grief with the passing of her grandmother, and I thought we should take a break before we continue on, and so we are back. Nancy, hello again.
Hello.
So let me start by asking this, because I think it'll be a nice entry. One of the things that I not necessarily struggle with, but I know that I thought about is, people understand a lot of times when you're going through something and they give you a little bit of, space, but there's always this expectation to keep it together, keep working. Are you going to finish my stuff? Sort of a thing. We both are in the tech world. And of course, the customer's like, well, if something happens, can we call? Sort of a thing. In all of your stuff that you had gone through, how did you address those things in your life?
Oh, well, kind of just like the tattoo removal, where that's a hard decision that you need to make. I realized that I needed to really ask myself what is important, what matters most right now. And for me, especially with everything that was going on, and boy, was it heavy. I'm talking being a single mom, running or starting a business, then my grandmother getting sick, my family needing help. So there was all these things that really matter much more than business. For me, it was I need to take care of my life before I take care of somebody else's. Oxygen mask on first. And so thankfully, I was in a position where I could take a step back from the business, allow others to step in for me in other areas, and really just work with a few clients. Basically, where can I survive? How can I survive? Because I still need to make money, right? So that's what I ended up with, and so I really had to look at what am I going to be able to handle and hold and be of service with at the same time as dealing with everything else that I'm dealing with on my personal side. And so it was a very difficult decision, but one that was ultimately speaking something that a lot of business owners kind of strive to get to, which is I just want to do what I'm good at. And if I can just focus on that, where I am the most impactful, then everything else kind of falls into place. And that's really what happened, which, obviously there wasn't any kind of growth during that time for my business. I wasn't out there marketing. I had to step back from even the things that I enjoyed doing in order to have capacity for everything else that was happening. And so I also understood that this was temporary. So what can I let go of temporarily that doesn't matter, that I can get back to eventually when the time is right? And so that's ultimately speaking how I made that decision of I'm needed most here. And so that's okay. And the rest of it, I will need to make it work so to make it fit to this. So let me ask you.
Okay.
We've talked about your mom also going through cancer and things like that. And you're a business owner, and you're a husband, and you have friends and podcasts and all these other responsibilities. How do you juggle it, and how are you making these decisions, these tough decisions?
So the short answer is powering through as best I know how. So, in terms of, you mentioned the phrase of understanding what's important now. And I remember, I don't remember why I went to one of those, Anthony Robbins deals where it was him and a whole bunch of other people that showed up. I think it was in Miami one year. And Lou Holtz, the head coach of the Notre Dame football team, or he was, I think he just retired or something like that. He was one of the speakers. And of all the things that happened, there were probably, I don't know, 10 of those power speakers there. And I remember him talking about the concept of winning. And he said, you realize when you take the word win and you just put it in the phrase of what's important now. And I don't know why that stuck with me. And to be honest, the context that he was using it meant nothing for my business, although I'm sure he was hoping it would translate that. But he was talking about, helping the players understand, how to get from the beginning of the season to the end of the season where they can compete for a championship. And it was like every step of the way, you have to stop and look at what's important now. What's important right here today to get me to the next step. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I look at my business, my life. It's, you get through the day and you look towards the next day or the next week, and it's like, okay, what's next? What's the important thing I've got to take care of next? So I don't know if that answers your question the way that you're hoping, but, if I'm going through my work day and something happens with my mom, I got to stop and take care of that. There was it 2 weekends ago? I had a whole weekend planned and something happened. Mom went into the hospital. You know what? Plans change. And everybody around me understands that that's the way the operation is. You deal with what's important now. If it's work, it's work. If it's family, it's family. So that's how we juggle it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And you said you power through, and honestly, I feel like that is how I am used to dealing with things, powering through. And this year was it was a moment of I needed to do the exact opposite, which was interesting for me because I have I feel like I've been going and going and going all of my life. I've been working since I was 15 years old. Before then, I started other businesses here and there. So I've been hustling all of my life. Um, you know, starting businesses, having kids, all of that, powering through everything. And I myself had a cancer scare last year. Um, I had to have surgery, so I was forced to, basically stop for some time. And then this year, while I was going through my highest highs, also through my lowest lows at the same time, and I got to a place in so we haven't even talked about this before, but we've talked about childhood trauma in the last couple of episodes that I've been through. And so part of that for me was religious trauma. And I have been completely disconnected from religion, from spirituality, from that sense of that part of who we are, ultimately speaking, for the longest time. And this year, um, everything that was happening was so heavy, it brought me to my knees. And for the very first time in my adult life, I should say, um, it, I've I came to God with everything that I had going on. And the it's one of those things where when you listen for it, you hear. And what I heard was be still. As I was making the decisions of how do I handle all of this and what do I do? Especially being the type of person that I am, empowering through all the time, what I heard was be still. And I was like, oh, excuse me, what do you mean? What is this be still? I don't understand. I can't. And as I was saying, when the pieces fit in order to exactly what I understood was just it's okay to let things just be as they are for now and not power through, because that's not going to help right now. Um, and that was different for me this year.
Yes. So you went to church, so to speak,
I went to church, so to speak. Yeah.
which I can understand that. There is something to be said with, and I'm going to break this into two things. One is listen to your body. When your body tells you to slow down and recoup or rest, you got to listen to it. And one is your spirit. And whether that is, you know, God, if you believe in God, or some other spiritual force, you got to listen to that as well. And sometimes there is a thing that we have to do where we actually have to be guided by what's in the spirit. And there are a lot of people that, can't do that unless they're at their lowest. Because why? That's usually when it's the time to listen the hardest. Because it's one of those, I don't know what else to do. Someone help. And it's who you listen to at the time. So was this something where you had been hearing it and ignoring it? Or was this something that you looked towards as a way to find another way to deal with stuff?
It's probably both, right? Like, and mm, anybody that has gone through a difficult time in their life, I think you realize that it's probably both, right? Like you were fighting it by powering through. You were fighting it by coping in unhealthy ways. You're fighting it in so many other avoidance, not wanting to deal with what's there in front of you. Um, and just sweeping it under the rug, letting it keep going, that kind of thing. And so I think it's a little bit of both, where I was definitely ignoring some of that, and then at the same time getting to the point of the other side of that, which is like, well, crap, now it's here, now it's hit me in the face, now I have no choice. Now it's a matter of life and death at the end of the day, um and having to take that step back and as you said, and let yourself be guided. um and so much of that is in part understanding, and again, I keep going to letting go, learning to let go, which at the end of the day is also surrender in so many ways, because we can't control everything as much as we want to try.
That phrase that I'm sure many people that have been in church will have remembered, let go, let God,
Mm.
sort of a thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, now, I'm sitting here trying not to ask about that childhood trauma only because I have gone through religious trauma as well. So I was wondering, as you were asking me that question, what was the underlying reason or question behind that?
Well, many of us deal with things in ways where how we grew up, right? So we have patterns that we naturally lean on because that's what we know and that's what we learned and things like that. And so that's the reason behind the question was led you to deal with life in this way and how and making decisions in this way. And so yeah, that's part of that, which that is a question for you.
Okay. Well, I don't have a deep answer in that religiously in terms of where I use religion as a guiding light. Although it is a part of my life, I will not deny that. I do not attend church on Sundays. I am not associated with the church, but I still listen to a heck of a lot of religious music. So, a lot of Toby Keith. It's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't go to church on Sundays either. I believe that especially now, that religion and spirituality are two different things. And both very personal. It is to me, what I have learned and what I will hold on to dearly because of the way that I've learned it is that it is my personal relationship with God or the greater being or the universe, whatever is that. But that is deeply personal in my mind.
Now, so that kind of goes to the question when you're dealing with something like grief and trying to figure out, how you're dealing with stuff, what your next step is going to be, caring for others, fixing problems, and then you realize yourself you've got to do stuff. Do you ever think about the fact that you were running from grief instead of running through it? Is that kind of what you were feeling?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I've realized that a large part of my life has been running from grief. Um, and the decisions that I've made throughout my life while running from grief have led me to certain paths. And because of that, because this is the unhealthy podcast, that comes with learning unhealthy coping mechanisms and developing unhealthy patterns. And not necessarily, they don't have to be loud, unhealthy patterns. Sometimes they're quiet in the sense that, I've been learning a lot about my nervous system and how my nervous system has learned to adapt to certain things. And because of that, my I don't necessarily feel very comfortable in certain situations or at certain times where there is no danger to me. Um, and so again, there's all these things that happen when it comes to the healing process that I've realized are so connected, so interconnected in the sense of how you make decisions, um, how you cope with certain things, and then how you then continue that. How do you continue to develop that? And so for me, all of this year and my entire life up until now has, and like most people, have been learning how to how to grow my own capacity for more, because that's also been a part of what I've realized has been a part of running away from grief at the same time, not dealing with certain things. y- I'm not able to then deal, or I don't have the capacity to hold other things as well. So that's all been a part of that.
So when we talk about, you know, food and diet and exercise and stuff, we can talk about being unhealthy in terms of those types of habits. But when we're talking about what you're talking about, whether, you know, it's your spirituality where you felt yourself not growing, dealing with the grief and the changes and stuff, did you find yourself going through an unhealthy pattern? I mean, were there stuff that you considered unhealthy that you had to make that change?
Oh, absolutely. So, and it's quite interesting because I feel like all of this is very much connected. Just like the layers of skin that we have, where the needle has to penetrate to tattoo somebody. It's to me, it's the exact same thing. We have all of these layers that are so embedded into who we are, and how we our behavior is a part of who we are, right? So um unhealthy behaviors, I definitely had them that I brought with me from childhood, with unintentionally or whatever, that led to certain decisions. um I've come to realize and understand, for example, oof, man.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah, yeah.
Let me let me sip some tea here. No,
Okay.
for example, I've come to realize that um, my first marriage, um, I not necessarily in the best place to have made that decision then. That was probably an unhealthy decision, um, backed by my childhood trauma, right? So would that relationship be the relationship that I would choose now? No. And not because anything against him, but it just because I wasn't my healthiest, my best self then. So my decisions weren't the best either. And go ahead.
I'm,
Keep it
I,
going.
I was waiting for you to, because I'm in my head, I'm thinking, okay, is it unhealthy just because of what it turned out? Was there something unhealthy going on that led you to that? Was there, I mean, I'm trying to
Uh,
ask questions
um,
without asking questions.
Without asking.
It's that made sense.
No, there was a lot of codependency within that relationship, and I think that that's what was the unhealthiest part about it. It was realizing that I had at some point in time throughout the marriage, I felt like I had lost myself in it. Um, Only to now realize I don't think I ever lost myself in it. I never knew who I truly was. Um, because I had not allowed myself to.
Okay, but
And
were you old enough to realize who you were? I mean, was how young were you?
18.
Was it a shotgun wedding?
It was not. It was not. Um,
Was it a getting
it
away from mom and dad wedding?
More than likely,
Okay.
right? Like that, and that's where it's like some of those decisions start to come through in and understanding that, like, I was not in the best situation with my parents during that time. So yeah, it's more than likely a running away from grief.
Okay.
And so it was a relationship that was in a way out, but at the same time, it provided something that I needed at that time, which was it led me to codependency, right? So that again, it wasn't the healthiest part because it I wasn't the healthiest self, my healthiest self either.
Okay. So you've said the word a couple of times, and I know that some people listening, we've talked about health and drugs on this show. When you say codependency, are you talking about just the mental codependency, or was there some drugs involved there?
No, definitely a mental codependency in the sense that I think that my identity was entwined in his. We couldn't be far apart for very long without, I mean, really thinking about it as a drug, right? And so there was that the unhealthiness aspect of it in the sense that um, there was not any room for us to individually grow because we were afraid that that would tear us apart, which ultimately it did. Um, and that happens. And what I've learned from that is like that is okay. And it was okay because it was the best thing for us to do for ourselves.
I'm processing.
Yeah. I know it's a lot. Woo, we've gone all around.
We did. And yeah, no research needed there. So understanding that, looking back, you at least are in a place now where you can say, you know what? I went through that. It was necessary. It helped me get to where I am, which is one of the tenets that I try to, live by, this fact that, look, we're not where we are by accident. We are right where we are supposed to be.
100%.
And I used to always say that I would love to live my life without regrets. And, looking back, I think I've done a pretty good job of saying, I don't think I would have done anything differently. Would I make all the same choices again? Absolutely, that I had at the time with the path that I was on. So, of course, it's easy to look back and say, well, if I hadn't made that choice. But I did this the other day. So if my family ever hears this, they are not going to let me let this down.
Same.
So I talk about you know what? Let's do this. We're coming up on a half an hour again. So I want to give this story time to flesh out here. So can we take another break and do a part 3?
Let's do it.
Okay. Sorry to do that to you folks, but as I was formulating that thought in my mind, I'm like, ooh, I need to explain some stuff. So we are going to do something that I've not done in quite some time, and that is pause again and do a part 3. Nancy, thank you very much for agreeing to do that. And folks, we'll be right back again.